Breaking news coming in on the morning news hour. A language row has erupted once again in Bengaluru after a video from an SBI branch in Chandapada went viral. This video, which you can see on your screens, captures a heated exchange between a customer and a branch manager who refused to speak in Kannada, which is being termed as the official language of Karnataka, despite repeated requests. The manager insisted on speaking only in Hindi and reportedly said that she would never speak Kannada. The customer, reminding the manager that this is Karnataka, argued that bank staff should use the regional language. The manager, however, dismissed the concern. Let me go across to my colleague Neha, joining us live from Bengaluru. Neha, this is such a tricky subject. Now, listening into the video, one could easily sympathize and at the same time criticize both parties involved here. What really went on and what has been the aftermath after this video?
Well, Tanshu, yet again, we're seeing the language row here breaking out in the state of Karnataka. Here is another such instance now of this particular video there that's going viral, said to be from, a branch there of the State Bank of India. What is, of course, really going on there is something that's not new to the state. We've seen in the past as well how there has been a lot of criticism, especially for people who've been coming in from outside of the state, settling here and not learning the language. Of course, like you rightly said here, what's essentially taken place there is that staffer there of State Bank of India, who's probably, of course, not aware of the local language here, going on to firmly, put her foot down there, saying that she would not speak Kannada. And here you have this man there, of course, going on to raise questions as to why she's not speaking the local language. He further goes on to add that there is, in fact, a rule by the RBI that if you're in a particular state, that you should be knowing the local language while you're working at branches of the SBI.
That's an important point, Neha. And let me put that across to Brinda Adige, who's joining us. Brinda Adige, ma'am, you are a citizen of Bengaluru yourself. How do you weigh in on this? On one hand, yes, no one should be forced to speak a specific language, especially a regional one at that. But at the same time, it's better for all bank staff to communicate in a language which most customers will easily understand.
Let us look at it in this way. The bank is a service provider. The customer's money is in the bank, which pays the staff. So it is the job of the staff to deliver that service in the language comfortable to the customer. After all, the customer is not asking charity. The customer is saying that you serve me in my language. And like Neha pointed out, there is a clause that when you go into a certain state, you learn to speak that language in 6 months. It is part of their appointment letter, which they knowingly, willingly sign. So one thing the lady could have said, the staff could have said, I'm sorry, I don't know the language, I'm still learning it, but a delivery of a service has to be done to the customer, so I will put you on to my other staff who knows this language. But she is behaving over there as if she owns the customer and the bank. How can she be so rude? So you have seen the reactions of the customer saying that this is how you behave with me and this is unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. And what is wrong with all our state government and union government by putting people who are unable to learn a language? We know that North Indians find it difficult to learn South Indian languages. So you will have to teach them in their own place the language and then send them here. But at the end of the day, it's simple courtesy and politeness, irrespective of whether you know the language or not.
I get your point, ma'am. I do get your point, Brinda ji, that at the end of the day, it's a simple service. My issue is, and this is where I want to bring this point in. We've got updates coming in at this point that because of this episode, pro-Kannada groups have now decided and have made plans to stage protests against the bank manager, demanding accountability and respect for Karnataka's official language. And Neha, I'll bring in you here in this point. This is where the concerns comes over the politicization of a simple issue of communication. As you and Brinda have been pointing it out, it was in the bank's interest to speak in a language which the customers understand. But if I have to play devil's advocate, going by the body language of the customer, I get the sense that there was an insistence made that every staff member has to speak in Kannada. Otherwise, it would be seen as an insult to the Kannada language, which is why we are now seeing these protests being planned at this point. Is there an effort being made to deliberately escalate this issue instead of a simple bank versus customer issue?
Well, Of course, it is Karnataka, and we've often seen the fringe elements, of course, trying and taking matters into their own hands. Of course, as far as the pro-Kannada activists are concerned over here in the state, on their part, it is an extremely emotional issue to the people of the state of Karnataka. The language row is one that often refuses to die down over here. At the end of the day, of course, what this is a simple matter of courtesy. Like, of course, our guest Brinda Adige there also was pointing out earlier, it is that matter of concern here that, it's that attitude that really, of course, at the end of the day has triggered these protests. We've often seen in the past as well, whether it's been with the Sonu Nigam incident, whether it's been with a host of other issues where the language row often pops up, it is that culture of adaptability really that, it boils down to. As far as this particular incident, of course, here is concerned, maybe it could have been dealt with in a different way is the reaction that's coming in on social media as well, to this video here, a host of mixed reactions that have been coming in. But yes, as far as pro-Kannada activists are concerned, they have planned protests on ground now against this particular bank, staff in concern.
Okay.
We've, of course, often seen in the past, there's a very fine line between where these activists, of course, take the law into their own hands, and that's where it starts to get problematic.
Very quickly, Brinda Adige, if you would comment on this, where do we draw this line which Neha was talking about, ma'am? Because yes, we understand that this is an issue of communication and of customer interest, but to make it a political issue by deliberately targeting people who have come from outside Bengaluru and bully them, is that also a line that should be crossed?
First and foremost, we must understand that these groups or Kannada language or Tamil language or any of these language groups are there everywhere. Now, this instance has gone viral. And every time an instance like this comes up, the entire bank staff and employees, all of them are pulled into this. Now, one thing it is important is for my chief minister to step in and very, very strongly say that this kind of behavior is unacceptable by anybody, and law and order or criminal action, because you cannot go and harm somebody or call names or tell them that you all come out and sit down. All that is unacceptable. There is a way and a manner to do these things. Secondly,
absolutely,
my chief minister must insist that Kannada-speaking people be posted for delivery of services as the frontmen.
Yes, Brinda Adige, I'll take your, I'll just cut in at this point because we are running short of time, but your point is noted. It's not something which ideally a chief minister should have to come down to saying it, but it's obvious that you should have people speaking Kannada at every service station to ensure that language communication issues do not arise. And at the same time, no one should take the law into their own hands and bully and come up with acts of hooliganism in the name of language protection. Thank you so much, Neha and Brinda, for joining us with those details. With that, it's time for a short break. News and updates continue with my colleague Amita on the other side. Stay tuned.